I'll do it this way. What are we going to do?
Good morning, Mike Schein, 100 Millionaires. How are you, brother?
I'm great. Gualter, Amarillo.
This is Gualter Amarillo, your host of 100 Millionaires. Mike, we were just talking about some of the moves in the stock market.
Cheers to your success.
And cheers to our success.
Yeah, amen.
And so
Dude, I'm going in a different direction quickly.
Go ahead.
Here's my problem. I love doing things that are positive, and I like reading only positive stuff.
Same.
And this book for this week, Extreme
Ownership, the tough book.
I just was reading the intro because I'm trying to get through it, but it's all about war and the Navy SEALs, and I get it, but it's hard for me to read it because I haven't read anything negative in the last year.
Yeah.
And this is like, it's not negative, but they're killing people, and people are getting killed, and it's like, oh my God, my sensitivities have changed.
I skipped to the last chapter. So
yeah,
I apologize, Mike.
I should totally do that just to get the nuggets of information. Did you ever notice a lot of these self-help books, they spend the first half convincing you of why they're right, and I'm always like, I get it. Yeah. I agree. So can we get to the, you know, like I read that book, The 12-Week Year, which is a great book. And and he spent like the first quarter of the book convincing you why a 12-week year makes sense. But doesn't it just intrinsically make sense to you? Like, oh yeah, I don't push it out. I can explain it. Like if you have goals for a whole year, you're going to push them to November, and then you're not going to do all the things. But if you only have 12 weeks, it makes sense. Okay, done.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there reading the book going, can we just get to it? Just get to it.
I love it. I was watching, obviously obsessed with Elon Musk lately, and one of his things.
Why?
Mostly because he's a billionaire at this point and past Warren Buffett in net worth, right? So things like that.
How about the fact that he's running $5 billion companies at once?
Yeah, he's the same reason I like Richard Branson, right? Like all those multiple companies, it's like, man, so when I'm struggling to run one, it's like something's wrong, right? Like we have 3 registered LLCs, and so every so often I'll be like, oh my God, it's so much, and then I think Elon Musk is running 5.
And he's got 6 kids.
I'm doing something wrong. It's just obvious. It becomes so painfully obvious. Maybe I need to adjust to a 12-week year.
Right.
And but what he said was, he's like, well, if everybody else is working 40 hours and you can put 80 hours in, he's like, it's not unrealistic to be able to put 80 hours in a week. He's like, then you can do twice as much as a person in an entire year. And if you're willing to put in 120 hours, then you can put in 3 times as much as a person. You can work 3 years in 1 year. And he's like, why don't you just, like what you just said is, why don't you just work your year's worth of stuff and do it in a third or in a quarter?
Yeah, so true. I forgot what book, I think it might have been The Compound Effect, talked about that Mother Teresa and Martin Luther King and all these people have the same 24 hours.
Right.
And that really struck me because these are they have the same 24. I mean, they always said, oh, they all put their pants on one leg at a time. But when you hear them say that they had a 24-hour day and they accomplished what they accomplished, that just blows me away.
Yeah. And so time is relative to how you use it.
Right.
Like it's
priorities.
It's priorities. And we look at we look at the stock market or we look at real estate investing. And if I could go back to 2012 when I started investing in real estate, I would have bought way more. If it was this guy in 2012, it would have been nuts, right? Like I literally look at things now. I'm like, man, I don't know if I can pay that for a 3-family. 1, the deal's not big enough for me to even be interested. And 2, I bought those for half the price 5 years ago.
I get it, but at the same time, we both know that your journey is what makes you who you are. So I don't.
100%.
Everything is done God's way, God's time, all that good stuff. So.
And unfortunately,
we're so blessed right now. Come on, we're having so much fun, aren't we? Having fun.
Mike, this is by the way, a nice desk. I love how,
Did you notice?
I can tell, like,
Elevated
I'm
desk.
seeing your, all of your, the plaques you have in the back of
Diplomas?
the room. The diplomas are like at a different height now.
Let's go down. Let's see if I'm not used to this at all, but let's get in the seat for a second. I'm so blessed. I was saying that my tech guy put it together. All right, now I'm sitting. And the cool thing is well, it's getting stuck on a chair. Hang on a second. The cool thing is he set it up so all the cords and cables are out of the way, that kind of stuff. It's awesome.
How do you like it so far?
I got to get used to it, honestly. I mean, I'm used to sitting down, but I really feel, especially with the Monday night call and the Saturday call, when we're on for like 2-3 hours, that standing and sitting will be necessary.
I find that the sitting desk is good for a few minutes of grinding, maybe an hour tops of grinding, but for interacting, Zoom, I got to stand. It's just.
I'm just gonna have to get used to it. That's all.
Yeah, you'll like it. You'll find that if you're ever at a situation where you can't stand, it's like, oh man, like I really miss the ability to stand right now. Like it'd be better to think and work, and especially when you're just walking into the office. Like I can just walk over to this desk,
right, and get going.
And I can work a little bit without sitting down, without like this pause.
And there's so John F. Kennedy, he had very bad back problems.
Yeah.
So he had in the White House, he had a podium. He obviously didn't have a Jarvis up and down electric desk, but
it was one
up.
height.
So I always think about that standing. There's something about standing when you're working. You feel more, I don't know, more active, more energized, right?
Yeah. Like, Mike, we're having this podcast. We get it done.
The next thing about Jessica in my office was asking me if I was going to get a little treadmill. So I could walk while I'm doing it.
I have toyed with the idea of the treadmill walking desk.
Yeah.
Just because I already don't like having to actually physically work and do anything. So, writing the book has been one of those pieces where I'm just like, man, like I'm spending way more time in front of a computer right now than I'm used to.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice if I was just, walking. Okay. No big deal. Type.
The vegan doctor that I follow, his name is Dr. Michael Greger.
Yep.
And when you find him on YouTube, sometimes you see him going like this, back and forth. And you're like, and then somewhere in the interview, he's like, I'm trying to not waste time. So if you see me moving, it's because I'm on the treadmill at the same time.
Right.
Because he gets interviewed all the time. He's like one of the foremost authorities on the vegan diet, things like that. So how do you, just like we were talking about time, how do you fit that into your day if you don't, if you've got to be places all the time? So it's awesome.
It's about knowing who to talk to, right? Like, and like you said, we only have 14 to 16 hours awake a day. Maybe more 14, 18 hours awake a day. And when you look at it as a big number, you're like, man, that's plenty of time. Where am I wasting it all? Right? Like, where is all this time going?
Yeah.
And so this morning, my dad invited us over to just hang out for a little bit. And he said 9 o'clock in the morning. In my head, instantly, I was like, dude, 9 o'clock? Like, you mean I just woke up, right? Like 9 o'clock, we're going to go. I'm going to leave my house and go somewhere. And my brother was like, no problem, right? Because he wakes up at 6 and my dad wakes up at 4. And so they've had, my dad's had half a day before I even show up.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to me during COVID, but we were getting up for like the Miracle Morning, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But lately, I can't get up till 7:30 is when I get up now, and I keep saying I want that extra hour and a half. I want to wake up at 6 so I can do more things, but it hasn't happened yet. So
your kid's schedule has changed. You don't have to get them to school, and so it was an artificial timeline. Right? Exactly. It wasn't real. It was just, hey, they got to go, so we do this thing an hour early.
And actually, even though Emma's 16 and kind of self-sufficient, we always like to see her in the morning, kind of.
Yeah.
She doesn't like to see us because she's a teenager. She's like, why are you up? Why are you up? We're like, we want to say hi.
Best parents ever. You're just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
She's so cute. Look at her thinking on her own.
Yeah. I remember like Samantha, you know Samantha. Samantha's
Yep.
like the sweetest ever. But
Yep.
we joke around that there was this year when she was 15 where no words needed to be said. You walk into the kitchen, she'd be there, and you were like, "Oh my God, I gotta get out of this room. I'm gonna be eaten by a monster."
I'll just go over here. Be in the living room.
It was just like, one year of growing
Yeah.
up and hormones and all that kind of stuff. So,
So I'm in this pattern of, since you started, I've personally been looking at my calendar, looking at my schedule, and with the book, I've been putting 6 to 8 hours a day in writing the book,
yeah,
still
you're
running the
amazing.
rest of my business, but writing till 4 or 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, I don't know how
And
you do that.
it's unsustainable. It truly is unsustainable. And I told Durant, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to push the book out. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to finish in August. I'm going to push to September because this is getting unrealistic, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
a bigger project than I expected, and I want to do it right. And now it's starting to compromise with my life and our relationship,
Yeah.
my health, and the
And
other
you've
things that I
also,
enjoy.
you also got a pretty brand new relationship with Darina, and wouldn't
Oh
it be
yeah,
fun to spend August with Darina? I mean, I know you're going to Florida, but something about the summer in New England's are just fun, and do
yeah.
yeah.
And that's
I
what
get
she told me. She's like, hey, I want to go hiking. I was like, yeah, that hiking, go by yourself, but I'll go to the beach, right? That's what I was
I
like.
told her I'm a bad influence because I told her we go camping on the Cape, and
Yeah,
so she said she wanted to take you. That's perfect because the
camping on the
camping
Cape.
there,
I'm with it. Yep.
yeah, it's
Sign me
fun
up.
because the beach is right there, and there's just
Yeah.
this place we go, Nickerson State Park, has these big glacier ponds in the back.
Yep.
We used to. I'll digress for a second. But anyways,
Digress.
when I was a kid, my parents rented a place in Wellfleet, okay? And there's this place called the Beachcomber who has these dunes that are probably like 2 stories high at the ocean. So we would go there for the day, and on the way back to our little cottage, we would stop at this place called Long Pond, which was one of these glacier ponds. It was fresh water after you've been in the ocean all day. It's amazing.
Yeah.
For some reason, Wellfleet now only allows Wellfleet people to park at Long Pond, like till like 7, 8 o'clock at night. So we're like, how can we find this? So what I used to do is I'd drop everybody off. I'd go drive a mile to Route 6, park my car, and then jog to the pond. Pain in the neck. So we found Nickerson State Park, and I had my dog one morning, 5 a.m. I didn't want anybody to wake up. So the dog just starts walking, and I'm like, I got her on a leash, and I'm just following her. She walks down this pathway from our tent, and she takes me like a quarter mile away, and it opens up on the most beautiful glacier pond you've ever seen. And like I would have figured this out because there's plenty of families there that would have done this, but my dog at 5 a.m., not a ripple on the water, so
Yep.
amazing. And
Yep.
so we've been going there every summer since. It's just a lot of fun. So yeah,
Nice.
highly recommend it.
And so sometimes just taking the path less traveled, going out,
Right.
experimenting a little bit,
Yeah,
and the dog. Sometimes the
dog.
dog is the secret.
right.
So how do we get more accomplished in less time? That is
Great question.
the question I think everybody's asking, right?
I think the key that I've learned over the last couple of years is to delegate.
Yep.
I think that, especially since I think that I got to give you a lot of credit for this, for me personally, but I always felt guilty that I didn't want to do things that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Since I've met you and the whole thing about disc profile and how I'm a high I, although I don't like to label myself because maybe there are some C things I enjoy doing, but I now find that if there's stuff that I don't want to do, I delegate it to other people. And
If it still needs to get done, then yeah.
yeah, and then I enjoy my life more.
Exactly.
It's like if you're in a job where you're doing a bunch of stuff, like for example, applications, I hate applications, whatever they are, like filling out forms. I don't like to do that. So now I just delegate it, and there are people in my office that are happy just doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron is filling out all the PFSs for all the refinances we're running right now. Every bank wants something else, and he's like, all right, I'm sitting here doing this.
Right.
Woo! Bro, I'm gonna go write a book. I'll catch you later.
We just actually hired Jessica's sister
Yep.
because we're busy and we're growing, and that's just another thing that, you know, as we expand, we just want to have more people that we can hand stuff off to. You know, kind of like you did with Dorina, and you know, there's more jobs that need to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we were talking about yesterday. Is this goal of building millionaires? Is, you know, how do we do it, man? It's like I told her everybody wants to become a millionaire. Not everybody. Hold on. Like literally 1% of the people I know, but I'm getting that percentage to be higher. But 1% of the people that I touch are like, oh my God, like I want to get rich. So it's very rare that I meet somebody who wants to get rich. But when I do, I'm very good at meeting a lot of them. And so we're pulling a lot of people who want to be rich, and they're like, hey, can I ask you questions about real estate? And it's like, dude, yeah. Can I call you? No. not that guy. And so like it's accumulating, and as like I want to be helpful, and I have this mission of building millionaires, but that means a lot of conversations about how to buy, how to get financed, how to, you know, who's my attorney, how do I line this up, which houses are a good deal, which city should I be in, where should I go, hey, can you go with me to the property? And it's like, dude, like that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to go out and do all of this.
And it's also stuff, it's not really like Drew says, it's not MWA, it's not minimum wage activities, but it's definitely stuff that other people know the answers to. And
it's trainable. Somebody else can do this.
Exactly. Yeah. I also like the idea of putting everything on YouTube videos. You know, like if you're explaining something several times over and over again, then you put it on a video. I heard that from Bigger Pockets. They do that, you know, for people that work for them. They say, this is how we do it. Watch this video. If you have any questions, ask after that. But yeah.
And that's been one of the scale pieces. You know, that's why Doreen asked me yesterday, why was Agent Alchemist built? She's like, you barely talk about it. I told her, have you ever heard of Starbucks University? Right? Starbucks University is a training company for the employees of Starbucks. Agent Alchemist is not something I sell or promote. It's literally what we put our agents through. You know, it's where agents learn how to work with investors.
I think McDonald's always had that. I think they were one
McDonald's Academy or McDonald's University.
I think. Yep. Good idea. That's cool.
It makes sense.
Really cool.
That's how you train
because you don't need to see that. Like when we do the wholesale mastermind, a lot of the stuff that you're telling people in that 8-week program, we hear over and over. Well, that might be a benefit to hear it over and over again. But at the same time, if you had a place that a newbie, you know, you're talking about scaling that up.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about scaling up, you can't, I mean, maybe you can, but you can't say the same stuff to everybody over and over. You'll go crazy. But if you had a place where they can go in Alchemist University that says this is required for you to be a part of the program, watch these 2 videos.
That's one of the pieces that Ron and I were talking about is, can we, in the introductory email, send a video that says, hey, read the books, do the things, all this.
That's a great way to do it, because then, this is going to sound strange, but whenever you talk about Alchemist University, I always feel like it's somewhere over in like Zimbabwe.
So far away.
I can't figure out how to get there, and I'm going to have to use a username and a password, and then I got to go to page 3. But if you just had an email, say, welcome to the program, here's what you need to do, and maybe you could even have some sort of a system that tells you when they've actually watched the whole thing, so that you know, like, they're held accountable. Because you don't, like, you can't, you risk having people not being successful if they don't do what you ask them to do. So if you say right at the beginning, listen, we're going to hold you accountable, and I just want you to know that these videos actually have something embedded in them that says, we know whether you watched it or not. Kind of like MailChimp tells you if somebody read an email or not, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with so many other companies being out there, so many YouTube videos, so many companies that you buy stuff off of, the ClickFunnels. It's like people are so used to just be like, that video is probably garbage, I'm not going to watch it. Or, you know, like they're just like, oh, I'll get to this later. Later never comes. Then they end up in front of us saying, okay, well, where's all this? The email I sent you, the one with all the steps in it. Oh,
I was
well, I deleted that. Can you send it to me again?
yeah, right. I had I went and looked. Brenda and I went and looked at a uh, uh, commercial, like 10-unit
Nice.
building yesterday. It's not as it sounds. It's a bunch of
Mm.
little ones, like for
Yep.
like hair salon, um,
Nail
uh,
salon,
massage. Yeah,
restaurant.
a
Yep.
Stephanie,
Yep.
something
Yep.
like that. A little massage therapist, that type of stuff.
Small
And
convenience
it was
store.
funny. The realtor, he's been around for a while, because he's like, he had already sent us all the information, and he told Brenda to review it before she got there. And I think it has nothing to do with us. I think it has to do with him and not wanting to answer the same questions over and over again. It was good. He
So he
also
doesn't.
did.
Yeah.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, he
No, he
just
also.
doesn't. Go ahead.
Oh, your turn.
Well, he just doesn't want to waste his time going out there if he knows it's a unique property, and so hey, here's everything about this before we get out there.
Right, right. Because I'm truthfully, I hate that. Why did I just say truthfully? Everything I say is the truth.
Honestly.
I don't like that. To tell you the truth, I always make fun of people who say that.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth. So everything else was a complete lie. So
Right.
anyway,
Truthfully.
so yeah, back to that. There was something that during the chat on one of our things the other night.
Yep.
We were talking about meditation, and Mitch Dworsky was saying how beneficial it was for him. And basically, I was saying I need to get back to meditation. But I know that if I put the word need in, so then I edited and I said something like I want to, and then I did it. And so when I wrote it back, I said, I see myself getting back to meditation. And then I put in parentheses to Mitch, I said, this was edited 8 times before it came out.
Edited for manifestation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
To magnetize.
I'm having this weird thing right now where I don't, even though I know the benefit of meditation, for some reason I don't feel like it's cool to be. Maybe it's that whole time crunch thing we were just talking about, because I'm not willing to sit down and just be quiet for a few minutes.
Right. So every so often I'll run into that, and I'll be like, oh man, like I don't have time, and not having time is relative. Not having time is a mindset. It's a bad belief system. That's why I have my house. I always have more than enough time printed up so I can see it.
Yeah.
Because we, as drivers, we get into that. Influencers, like we're people of action.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to not set time for mindset and not set time for things that are important, and understand that in each day, there's only so much that can be done. It's the quality of what you're doing.
Right.
And sometimes the stuff we're doing is not high quality. It's not the right thing.
Yeah.
But it's taking a lot of our time. And so like it's constantly evaluating, what do you really want? Like, where do you want to be and where do you want to go? And why are you wasting time on things that just don't fulfill you? Because it's an old habit, an old program, an old routine. And meditation allows you to reevaluate. Meditation allows you to step back and say, wow, if I just did, remember we all watched the, wax on, wax off, the
Karate Kid?
The Karate Kid, yes. So the master is able to, with very little effort, very little thought, do some very powerful move, right? Like do something very powerful with minimum effort. And the kid is like, going crazy, can't do anything. And so it's because he spent time understanding what he's doing, understanding what he actually wants out of this, and the laws of the physics behind it. And then very simple, just takes the right action.
Yeah.
And it's the same as you look at a stock that's is going to move, you're going to make a play, you know how to make the play. Some people will, within the same amount of time that you said, yep, this, if it gets to here, sell here, if it gets to there, buy there, and you've hedged your bet and you put it out there, it takes you 2 seconds. Somebody else will go into that same trade and be like, buy. Well, maybe I should sell. Well, maybe I should buy. Maybe I should babysit this all day and watch this stock all day. When if it does this, do that. If it does that, do this. And I can walk away from it, right? I'm confident, I'm happy.
I think there was some company like TD Ameritrade that sold this product that just had red lights and green lights.
Yep.
And they just if it hits, you just have it on your screen. I heard someone who had it. If it hits a red light, then you sell.
Yep.
And if it hits a green light, you buy, and it's idiot proof. It's just buy, sell, and yeah, same idea. But regarding the meditation, it just seems if every billionaire that we read about, maybe not Sam Zell because he's so old school, but most of them are doing meditation.
Sure he does something. Yeah.
Yeah.
He must do something.
I see myself getting back to it. Brenda does it every day, and I'm like busy. Because I think I sent you my list of the 10 things for a super powerful day.
Yep.
And I have it all packed in with like journaling, 100 push-ups, drink a bottle of water, read for 20 minutes. There's just, you know.
Yeah. Mike, at the end of the day, the key to success is what do you want? What do you actually want out of the day? What do you actually want out of the week, out of the year, out of the month? Right. And then you evaluate, are you doing those things? You know, like that is so key to happiness and success, because, you know, sometimes I look at my portfolio and I'm like, man, I'm trading 20 different stocks. I can have the same effect trading one stock. I really could.
And that's why I like all my guys on YouTube, because it's like Chica Genius has, I think he has 2 stocks in his untouchable area, Tesla and I think it's Lemonade right now. I was talking to Mitch George about Lemonade. And but then I told you he has the Itchy Fingers. Itchy Fingers only has like 4 or 5 stocks in it. And see, because I come from my dad's school, like my father has been picking up stocks for so many years.
Well diversified.
Oh my God.
Stock a year.
Any stock you mention, if you're like, oh, I like these glasses. And then, oh, I think I own 1,000 shares of that company. You're like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
It's because he's been picking up rental property, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he picks up 2 or 3 stocks a year. No big deal. Drops 10, 20, 100 grand into each one of those, sets it and forgets it, moves on to the next.
Right.
You know, and they're just kind of in there, and he's managing them, but he's not selling them. He's just letting them do their thing.
And I would say that when you look at diversity, so I have my Roth IRA, which is self-directed. So I'm loaning money.
Nice.
I own 5 rental properties. So, and I own stock portfolio that I've reduced to less different companies. But if you look at it as a whole, like that's a diversified portfolio. I mean, of course. And this is not financial advice. This is just what I'm doing. But I'm saying, if you look at it from diversity, real estate, lending money, you know, stocks, it doesn't have to be 30 different stocks. If you believe in the companies and their long-term company outlook, you know.
There's a couple of ETFs that back in the day I dropped into, and I just got back to it recently. I said, you know, why am I playing around all this extra work? Like QQQ or MGK or VUV or VONG. Like, these are great high growth ETFs that track the S&P. VOO, right? They track either the Russell shares or the and so it's like, and you know, you run all of them and they all are doing the same exact play. You don't need all of them. Just pick one, whichever one has the lowest fees. I think it's MGK.
That's Vanguard. Well, Vanguard is a co-op, so it's owned by the people. That was Jack Bogle before he passed away. So like that was in that book that I've mentioned a few times, The Simple Path to Wealth. So if you're not going to be like us, where you're focusing on these, hyper-focused on these companies, looking at them like you do with EXP, you're actually in EXP. If you're not going to be like I have a friend, Tom, lives down in Florida. He also has a elevating desk. That was part of my influence. I went to see him in Florida. He's in a town called Dunedin, Florida. And I said, you know, if you and his wife's Trina, I said, if you guys are not going to be looking at stocks, they both dual incomes, you know, whatever they're working. And I said, read The Simple Path to Wealth, and then just go get the VOO. The book talks about Vanguard because the fees are so low. And they said that you're just not going to beat the index funds over the long term anyways, and who cares? It's the title is perfect. It is The Simple Path to Wealth. If you just put it and keep putting money into it, it's just going to work over time.
Yeah, that's like, honestly, that's the strategy that I really do think, especially when I pull away from the stock market, I
Yeah.
drop everything back into these ETFs. When I'm not paying attention, when my eyes aren't on it, I drop back
Right.
into ETFs and I
I
go and
love
I do
how
my
I
pick.
love how much you move in because I'm a so I had a friend of mine, Angelo. I think I mentioned him before, Angelo Patassi, and
Yep.
we would always compare things because he was a trader and I am an investor.
Right.
And he would always have cash, like almost everything was in cash until he saw a position. Then he would go in on the position, and then once it did whatever it did, he would
Yeah.
then sell and be back in cash.
Right.
Now, my father and me, by extension, are the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Every dollar is put into a company, a good company,
Yep.
for the long term. Um, these things like with the 5-to-1 Tesla split, it's exciting and it's fun, and, but I am long-term investor, and I believe in the company, and so
Exactly.
that's the difference, investor versus a trader or whatever. So
And that's how it should be, right? So like we were talking about with Mitch, if the company's earned its money, like, so EXP is a perfect example, yes. But I've reduced my position down to 15%. As my portfolio has increased,
yeah,
EXP was only ever like, I don't want too much exposure to the stock. And if you look at the past week where it's been, I was 100% right. It's gone to that volatile spot where
right,
I knew it'd run from 28 to
right,
32 for a couple of weeks, and it may eventually go to 35,
yeah,
probably by the end of the year. Realistically, by the end of the year, I think it'll be at 35.
right,
If it goes there or not, I don't care. I've pulled my exposure away from it. It's only 15% of my portfolio. But for a couple of weeks, it was 80% of my portfolio. Not a couple
right,
of weeks. It was for
gotcha.
2 days. For 2 days, it was
Nice.
80% of my portfolio.
Yeah,
It went up, and then I
you
shifted
bought
back.
it. You bought it at like 16 too, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was very good. It worked very well.
Now, for my philosophy, I like the company mainly because of talking to you about it, and I just bought some shares, and
It is
now
a
it's
good company.
there, and I have
Yeah,
no intention of selling it on a short little 3-point drop. I'm just going to
no,
keep it. It's a good company, and
exactly.
10 years from now, 20 years from now, it'll continue to go up, and I do dividend reinvesting. So every
Uh,
time they throw out a dividend, it just reinvests, buys more shares of EXP.
yep.
And at some point you get to like with Tesla where it's splitting 5-for-1, and then you end up with those shares and it goes up and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And there's no, I'm not looking at the day-to-day. Well, that's not true. I do look at the day-to-day volatility, and sometimes it makes me crazy when I see, Tesla go down 100 points in a day, and you're like, holy crap. But I, I stay to a long-term. I know it's a great company. I believe in it. I know all the technology, all the products that it's going to put out, and I continue to educate myself on it. So when there are huge drops or huge ups, I enjoy the ups just because I've always been one of those people who watch like the Red Sox and the Patriots, and it's like sports. It's kind of fun to watch, but I don't take it as something I'm going to act upon. I
Right.
don't act upon that kind of stuff.
It's 100%. It's just like all the REITs right now. So
Yeah,
every REIT right now is getting beat up. Every REIT right now is slammed, and so I've pulled some of my cash out of those REITs to make some of these plays, to get capital plays for these
yeah,
appreciation plays. I know the REITs are going to sit where they're at for the next couple of months, as long as the government keeps saying, yeah, you don't have to do evictions.
yeah,
then
right.
then I know the REITs valuations will stay low. All pretty much every REIT I'm in except for mortgage REITs is 40 to 50% discounted right now.
Gotcha.
And the mortgage REITs are obviously returned because the government said, well, here you go, here's a little extra cash. So
Yeah,
the
it's a
mortgage backed
shovel,
REITs are way up there. Yeah.
shovel.
Here's money. Thank you, Uncle Sam.
Yeah,
So the mortgage backed securities are running strong, running hot. So they're paying a hot dividend. I'm enjoying it.
awesome.
But
That's awesome.
the apartment REITs, which I believe in, I love those products,
Yeah,
right? I know I have time to go back and buy those back
that's
in.
awesome. Let me know when that happens, so I'll buy some with you.
It's probably by the end of the year. It's
Yeah,
probably by the end of the year. You could see them stabilizing and shoring up, and they're they're smart. They're setting their goals lower, and they're just putting their income goals lower, and now they're able to beat their income goals.
Yeah.
And so normal people are like, oh man, that company's killing it. They've
Yeah.
just lowered the bar, right? Like, that's all they did. They've lowered the standard.
Hey, by the way, so Chicken Genius Singapore on YouTube did a really funny video today on what a 5-for-1 stock split or what a stock split is. He used a banana and a cleaver to show cutting it up. So if you get a chance to watch it, it's pretty funny.
When did they release that they were going to do a 5-to-1?
Last night.
No shit.
Last night. So the stock was down like 40 points yesterday.
Yeah, it was
And
down
then
to.
I got in my car and I just happened to look at my phone and it was up like 66 points. I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
I thought maybe they talked about S&P inclusion. I thought that's why. And then they just said it was a 5-for-1 stock split, which, as we know, doesn't do anything to the value. But psychologically, people want to buy. So if it's at $1,500 a share, and that's going to be as of August 31st, it'll start trading, which I thought was amazing because Apple announced like over a month, probably a month ago, that they were doing a 4-for-1 split. And they're going to do it on August 28th, the 4-for-1.
Yep.
So Tesla, just like they do in the car business, are just acting so quickly because they just said it yesterday. It's August 12th, and it's going to start doing it August 31st. And that's just...
So that'll put shares around $300.
$300 a share. And that Chicken Genius one with the banana, he does actually do some really quick, good analysis. If you want to learn about why it is a benefit to have a stock split, even though it doesn't
Helps
change
raise
the
capital.
intrinsic value. Yeah, exactly. And also, you know, for like the younger generation that wants to buy a share, $1,500 a share is intimidating.
Right.
And they also said now that even though they have like slices of shares you can buy, people don't want a slice of a share. They want
Right.
a whole share. Like it's like Bitcoin. You want a whole Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
one of those pieces where I was thinking about it yesterday. I sold a lot of my crypto 2 days ago.
How do you do that? I want to talk about, maybe we can do another show on that, but I just want to own some Bitcoin, but like, do you own it in like an ETF or something like that?
I own actual Bitcoin, and I own it in actually Robinhood is a trading app that now allows you to do 7 types of crypto.
Oh,
in fact, I was researching it the other day, which apps, which trading platforms allow you to have which different cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
And there's a couple that have 14. There's a couple that have like Robinhood allows 7 now. There's, I think, Ameritrade allows 5. And so, you know, I was looking at the different, I think you're Ameritrade, right? You have TD Ameritrade?
I do, but I don't really use it. I use my Schwab one.
So TD Ameritrade allows 5. I didn't check to see what Schwab allows. Robinhood,
Well,
since I have Robinhood, I use that one.
So you're saying you own not Bitcoin, but other cryptocurrencies.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dodge. There's a couple. So there's 7 different ones. I'm just exposed to all 7.
Nice.
But I dropped out 2 days ago. You know, I had a feeling we were way overpriced, and so instead of just reducing my position, I dropped out entirely because I don't like that I can't leverage crypto. My margin doesn't. I can't use it.
Right. I get it.
I looked at my stocks and I said, you know, I'm getting a better return on my stocks and I marginalized them.
Right.
And so I pulled away from crypto. I like it for its volatility, and I like it because I can trade it at night. It's literally just a fun thing to do at night.
Right.
I can get 2 or 3 extra trades in.
Yeah.
But I looked at the return on investment and I looked at how high I was. And I said, you know, I'd rather be in the stock. If I'm not going to pay attention to trading for a couple of weeks, I'd much rather be in the stock market, leverage my position, and let it go. And
that's
it dropped.
An interesting thing about your margin, because so Chicken Genius, again, this is Chicken Genius Day, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
He did a trade where he sold a put. I think I mentioned this before on Tesla.
Yep.
And so I did like a 910 for the July of next year, and it immediately put 20 grand into my account. Yeah. And the worst case is that if it goes, it's like buying the stock at $710 in the end. And I would do that all day long. So what's neat is with this, but when I did it, when you do that, even though it's out for a year, it actually affects your margin. Like because they said you're
Gotta
going to,
cover it.
yeah, right. You have to be able to cover it. And I was like, oh, that's a good little education, because you may not want to have less margin for the next year. And actually, interesting thing with a split is that, so now instead of one contract, I now will have 5 contracts of this thing. And if I wanted to close out like 2 or 3 of them and keep them, because it's actually, because the stock's gone up so much, I could buy it back for a lot cheaper than the 20 grand that I received in. I think it's like 10 grand. Anyways,
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of neat. So it's another reason why the split is a benefit, is that option traders have more flexibility.
I'm watching the stock on my phone right now. Tesla is up to 1493, probably going to go to 1494 over the next couple of seconds.
Cool.
And it is, it's one of those things, like, I bought in at 14. Last time I got up to 15, I sold off. I sold off down to 2 shares, and now I bought back in because it was at 14. So I said, it got this low. I know it's going back up. And like, if I didn't have my margin, I wouldn't be buying Tesla right now. Right. But I buy the things I feel really confident with. I buy with margin.
Oh, crap.
And yeah, cool day, right?
That's what I was saying last night. I was getting the car, and the aftermarket on my little CNBC app says, it had 66 points over at like 5 o'clock after the market was closed.
Yeah.
I was like I said, I thought that was going to be S&P inclusion. And so when I was pleasantly surprised that it was actually just this 5-for-1 stock split, because I know that this doesn't change the intrinsic value of the stock, but for some reason, Apple, which did their 4-for-1, went racing up. I don't know if it's the Robinhood investors. I don't know who it is, but there's some reason that people see this as a value for the stock to go up. And I already own the stock, so I'm happy, to benefit from that.
When you're investing in anything right now, we're probably going to end this episode in a little bit. When you're investing in absolutely anything right now, understand there is more stupid money in the market than educated money.
Right.
There is more unsophisticated money in the market right now than educated money. When it comes to real estate, I was telling Ron this, I told him, we can't buy small buildings anymore because there's too much dumb money buying buildings, right? They overpay. They don't look at the fundamentals. They don't look at the numbers. It's the same thing with the stock market. There is an emotional element to this machine right now that that's why I shifted a lot of my stocks are over in safer assets, because I expect a big fluctuation coming up. Wow. And we've recovered too fast. Just like we did back in 2008, we came up way too quick, and there was a little drop off, and there's this little fluctuation that'll happen over the next couple of months, and the volatility is too high.
Well, I was watching Kramer on CNBC, and he was saying that actually, and also that guy, the billionaire investor Chamath, he said the same thing. He said that the younger generation, or the retail investor, actually has more access than they've ever had to information. When it used to be the institutions that had all the information, and the retail investor, like I said, I started buying Tesla because I started watching YouTube, and I started reading about it. And I don't remember doing that in the past when I used to have stocks. And so I know that there's stupid money in there, but I also think that some of the younger investors with Robinhood actually do know what they're talking about, especially when it comes to Tesla, because the analysts on CNBC, besides Kramer, have just been dead wrong. They still to this day don't understand this company, because now they're like, okay, and this was in one of the videos. Now they say, oh, it's a good car company. We were wrong. It's a good car company, but you just missed what Elon Musk says is at least half a company more, because they have the energy stuff and the energy storage and the solar, which is the cheapest solar you can get in the country right now. And that Elon says should be worth more than the car business. And we're not even talking about their insurance business, and we're not even talking about the battery storage business for like large cities and things like that. So I think there's a lot of information out there. I agree that some of the money is stupid. Like when all the people were burying into what, Kodak last week because Kodak got a contract or something like that. It's just,
and so there's more access to information,
yeah, exactly.
but it's not, these are not institutional investors, right? These are people who can read a report and take information and understand it, but emotionally, an investor, to become a successful investor, you have to emotionally have fortitude. You have to have discipline. You have to understand the principles.
Long view.
It has to be long view.
Yeah.
And so you've got a lot of people who are getting this information and making the right decisions based on the information for short periods of time.
Right.
And so they spark on the next idea, the next idea, the next idea, the next idea.
Yeah.
And they're rotating their money, and sometimes they're getting lucky and sometimes they're not. But there's so many people who are, there's one guy doing the information, doing the research, but he's got 10 of his friends, or he creates a blog post or creates a YouTube channel, and they're swaying the market with people who are not educating themselves or not staying on top of the trades fast enough. And so there's just a lot of drag. There's this
perfect example of that is the whole thing about Nikola, which is an electric company.
Battery company,
yeah, and they do trucks or whatever. They haven't built one car yet. They don't have anything out there. It's just a bunch of promises and ideas. So if your friends say, oh, Nikola is this amazing company, it's like the new Tesla, and actually the CEO keeps saying that it's like getting into Tesla when Tesla was at 30. But if you do the research,
I'd say that too, as a good capital raiser.
Right? No, yeah, it's brilliant. But it was up at like 90, and then the share dropped to like 30 because what people who didn't do a lot of research didn't know was that there was a whole thing they're called pipe investors who were private investors beforehand, and that was like 55 million extra shares that came in the market. So if you were, oh, this is a cool company, it's going to do EV and all this kind of stuff, and then you didn't know that all these shares were coming in, like I said, it dropped it by a third. So that's to me is stupid money. Do your research. Do your research.
And that's the whole point of this podcast, right? Like the whole point is to educate our friends, educate the people who are interested in learning how to build wealth. And we talk about a lot of different strategies. We started this with talking about time and it's crazy. Like we'll bounce around. But at the end of the day, we can talk about these plays. And the stock market for me, I made about I want to say somewhere around 20,000 this month, and it was just off of 2 trades. It was Tesla and EXP, and I jumped in hard and I pulled back. And it goes back to that lesson of put all your eggs in one basket and guard that basket.
Yeah.
And then I'm going back to focusing on the business that makes me all my money, which is real estate investing.
But I got to ask you one question.
Yeah.
The thing that I have trouble with is whenever you're pulling that money out very quickly, you're paying taxes on that. Like you're paying taxes on the gain. Are you okay with that? Like, I mean, you must be because you do it, but I can't bring myself to sell because I don't want to pay those taxes.
And so because we're in capital growth mode, and I want the speed of capital, I want the ease of access to capital, I'm okay with paying the taxes.
Okay.
And because I don't pay too much taxes on my other businesses, my tax basis is so low
because of the real estate and the benefits the government gives to owning real estate. The
depreciation, right? So last year, even though we earned quite a bit and lifestyle was very good, most of it was business expenses. Yeah, traveling is a business expense. Pretty much everything we do, everything that we do is a business expense. These phones are business expenses.
Right.
And so
all the stuff that I bought for this podcast are all business expenses.
Every computer in these offices, right? The desks, everything's a business expense, except for my rent, which by the way is paid for by my tenants. And so, like when it comes down to actual income, do we roll everything right back in? We spend it all on advertising, and so I have some losses I could take. The losses on the
right, you had from the REITs and that double-backed mortgage. Triple fudge, Ripple, whatever the fuck it was.
Moral. 2 times leverage. I had a $3,000 loss on that. So for me, I looked at it, I was like, dude, if I don't take some of these gains, I'm just losing, right? So sometimes it actually makes sense to do it. I was in a position to take a big play, make some big money, and then go back and buy. I bought those stocks again, In some cases, I bought them higher than I had bought them previously. Some cases, I bought them back lower than I had when I sold them.
I did that too. I did that too.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Tesla is a perfect example. I went and bought it back lower again.
Right. Yeah. There was what did I do? I panicked with Tesla. I bought it like 700 and then I sold it at like 500 and then I
You
ended up buying,
committed.
and then I bought it later and higher, but it's all good.
I have bought and sold Tesla so low, it's embarrassing to talk about. It's like under $100, 86. I was buying at 28, $28. I thought I made my money at 86. I thought I made my money when I sold it. I bought it at 86 again or 89 again, and then sold it at 120. Like I thought I used Tesla, right?
Yeah.
This is
My-
5-6 years ago, whatever it was. And
My,
now it's like, man.
My one recently was Shopify.
Yep.
So I had Shopify very low. I watched it race up, and then I sold it. And then Brenda was like, "Why did you sell that?" And then I kept watching it; it kept going up. I think I sold it at like 600, and then it's at 700. I'm like, "Oh my god!" Or maybe it sold 400, and it was up to 600. I said, "I can't do this anymore." Every time I look at it, it was almost like EXP. Like we kept talking about EXP, and I'm like, "Geez, Gualter owns a stock. I love watching it. I'm happy for Gualter, but I want to participate." So jumped in,
Good thing.
and I did. Yeah, same thing with Shopify. I jumped back in at 600, and now Shopify is at like 1,000, somewhere like that. So
You want to know what the
don't
next
let your
mistake-
ego get in the way. Like go back in if you think a company's a good company, even if you made a mistake. This
If
is
you
not.
like the
This
company.
is not advice. This is not advice.
Not advice.
It's not advice. This is what I do. Sorry, that was not
Yep.
financial advice. I'm just a holistic attorney.
That's it. And so I look back at AMD.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the chip company.
Yeah.
Back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I used to trade all the time. I bought AMD at $250 a share, about 1,000 shares, and I was running it. And I said, you know what? I'm done with the stock market. I'm gonna take this $2,000 and put it to my first house. And yeah, it was a great move. I made a lot of money. Now I'm multimillionaire. But AMD's at $80, and still, like for whatever reason, I'm like, man, like I probably could have left that, $2,500 in AMD, and it turned into 800,000.
That's what my dad's whole career, 50 years of just, he never sold anything. Like, obviously there were some things that failed. There was a company called Wang, W-A-N-G. They did like computers.
Wang. Yeah.
It was like Wang A and Wang B. And I remember that totally crashed. But the number of companies that he's owned forever and ever that just, it's crazy.
If you pick up a company at $2 or $3 or $5, you can get quite a few shares of it. If that company in 10 years does well, doubles its net worth, triples it, fine. But if it goes up 10 times, phenomenal win. And if the company dies or doesn't, as long as you diversified so much, who
exactly.
cares?
That's like
Right?
my
One out of 20 deals is going to work out.
my Novonix, which is the one I said that has some relationship with Tesla, and they do battery testing for like Apple and Samsung, but they're also creating. So I bought that at 60 cents a share. Yeah. And now it's probably at like 90 cents a share, but it's not. It goes up and down and all this stuff. But it's one of those things that if in 10 years that they actually execute their business plan. Yeah. Holy crap. If you own a stock at 60 cents a share and then it goes up to like $20 a share, like, oh my God, mind blown. So fun.
That's where your dad's done well. That's where Warren Buffett's done well, comes in and you buy these companies and based on the management, based on the plan, the vision.
Right. Like, I love that. Warren Buffett bought Jordan's Furniture. I was like, holy crap, Jordan's Furniture, local company. I can't believe it.
Local guy, yeah.
And then if you read like what he looks for, he looks like, I think it's like $50 million in revenue and good management, and they never take the management out. And it's like, holy shit, I had no idea that Jordan's Furniture was like that kind of company, and now it's owned by Berkshire Hathaway. It's been a while, but it's just kind of a neat local story because they're out of Mass.
Right. Well, I like because they're local. Yeah. They're our guys.
Yeah, your guys.
They're
Massachusetts, I went to school there,
Yeah.
I lived there for 15 years in Boston, so I consider it mine.
Yeah, it is. Mike, you're one of the locals, man.
Yeah, I get to Fall River in 41 minutes, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I missed that. Missed that.
So yeah, definitely something that was fun. I was talking about it last night with some of the other coaches, and I think that guys from all over the country. I think that we're probably not going to see this
Yeah,
industry get back to normal
yeah,
until spring of next year, March Madness. We may start seeing it. I
right,
know that Vegas will push for it because Vegas's convention season is March to April, March to June, and that's where they make all their money. So we may start seeing Vegas open up
right.
uh, for March Madness in time for it. But I do not know.
Yeah, because like it was that one that I invited you to come to. It was called
Partnership,
the Ultimate
partnering.
Partnering, and they said something about doing like a online, and I have it on my calendar for this Friday.
Yeah,
I got to check into it today because I don't know what happened to it. I mean, I would think they would have given me more notice, like, hey, we're still doing this, but
right.
I got closing. So Jessica's like, hey, are you going to that partnering summit? Because it says you're out all day, Sheridan, Boston. And I'm like,
Yeah,
no, that is not happening.
not happening. Like I saw it on my calendar and I was like, I haven't heard about it. I don't think it's going down. I don't think it's at the Sheridan in Boston.
Right. Anyways, all right.
So
I think we
anyway,
got to
yeah,
end this. We're just I could talk forever. So
and it's good stuff, good information. So recap, control your time.
yeah,
Do
time. Remember, say what you said before. Time is not about time. It's about
priority.
priorities. Yeah,
The
because
priority. Do your one thing.
yep.
And
It's
then
like, what's
invest
your
in the right
priority?
things.
If
And
people say they can't do something, it's not because they don't have time. It's because it's not a priority. You
that's the
know,
reality.
it's just not a priority. Holy
Yeah.
It's hard to. I'm getting very distracted since you mentioned Tesla share. I've got it on my other
Where are we at?
screen, and it's up to 1505.
It's 15:05 now. Yeah. It's
Yeah, this is what
it's a
I'm
good
saying.
day.
Like, I'm not buying it for today. I have no intention of selling, but it's like watching the Red Sox or Yankees. You're like, oh, what's the score? Yeah.
That's why I keep two accounts. I have three accounts, but that's why I keep two. One, I can day trade Tesla all day. The other one holds
Awesome.
Tesla.
Yeah,
It's like
you and Mitch Jaworski.
two different mindsets when I walk into the app.
Yeah,
It's like, which
it's
one am I
awesome.
playing with?
Yeah, it's fun.
And so and again, we talk about stocks a lot on this.
Yeah,
Again, we were talking about the other day. My net worth is 5% stocks, but while I was building it, it was all real estate. Not even a percentage was in stocks. I pulled out for 1 year. That one whole year, I had nothing invested.
right.
And not saying that's the right way to do it, but focus. Like if you can't focus on something, it's probably
Right.
going to
No,
suffer.
and I'm much further along on the curve because I've been doing this, even though I plan to live to be 120. I've just been doing it for a long time, and I've had the benefit of having my father around all the time, and I just watch the way he does things, and so I've just been amassing. So just kind of like Gualter, you do with real estate. I've just been buying stocks, and yeah, I'm further along. That's all.
And so it's important to be patient with yourself, take
Yeah,
your time with it, but at the same time, it is a great way to build wealth. There's three ways to build wealth: business, stocks, real estate.
yeah.
I was reviewing my net worth, and
I got to do that this week. I skipped a week. Gotta
right,
get going. Yeah.
so 1.5 of it is in real estate, 1 million of it's my business, and then 100,000's in stocks. So when I
Nice
look
job.
at all of this, it's like, well, the stocks are the smallest play. They have the ability to be as big as the other ones, but
Right.
you'll pick what, and the business will probably surpass the real estate this year. There's a very good chance that the real estate
Wow.
company will pass.
Fantastic. That's great. Good job.
Thanks, man. It's
Yeah.
just business is easier to grow. It's just way
Yeah.
like in a market like this, business is actually easier, faster to grow,
Yeah.
and it's what the banks will still lend on. Whereas
When you say the business, that's the coaching business, or that's the
I combine the two. So the coaching business is actually a marketing company.
okay.
So it's just a marketing leg of the real estate company.
Yeah.
Although we've finally found a way to make the marketing actually generate its own profits, and
Awesome.
so it's that's a cool it's a cool way to run a business. Social
Right.
media marketing, right?
Right.
You can actually monetize your marketing.
Awesome. Awesome.
So when you have a choice, always work at the best. Mike Schein, take us out.
Yeah. Massive income from passive income. The holistic attorney, Mike Schein. Peace.
That's it. Let's build those 100 millionaires. Yeah.